Welcome to You Are Not Alone. This is a safe place to explore all things spiritual and beyond. I am spiritual medium Erica Gabriel. Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome to You Are Not Alone. I'm so happy you're here. I am so excited for this podcast. I am doing this introduction after I recorded this podcast. And as you guys know, I usually do my introduction while the person is on the phone or on the camera, so they hear my introduction. But this guest, I told her, I'm not going to introduce you because I need a lengthy introduction and I don't want you to have to sit there and listen to it because we were going to have so much to talk about. So I wanted to savor our time. So this recording is coming to you after I did this podcast. So an amazing miracle happened where I received an email from Marianne Williamson's people. And yes, that Marianne Williamson, who has been a spiritual thought leader for 40 years. She, let me just side note, has run for president. She has written 16 books, 4 of which are New York Times best sellers. If you want to listen to her interviews, you can hear her be interviewed several times by Oprah on Good Morning America, all of the news shows. She started an organization, Angel Food Project, which has fed and delivered over 18 million meals to people. She's an absolute powerhouse, an incredible human, and has had an unbelievable career that is still going and still going strong. And you get an email that has in the subject line Marianne Williamson's new book, which she just wrote. It's called The Mystic Jesus, The Mind of Love. And you click on said email thinking it was, a promotional email to people that are on her mailing list. But it's a personal note saying that she's available for podcasts and that You Are Not Alone could be a great fit. So you write back, hello, big fan, to put it lightly. And basically, is this real? And I'm not minimizing the power of You Are Not Alone and how special this podcast is. I would never do that. And also, it's Marianne Williamson, right? So I'm like, thank you. Love it. Yes, come on the show. And also, is this real? Or is this like a bait and switch? And this is not Marianne's people at all. And she was like, no, this is us. So we arranged it. Let me just tell you, first of all, I have, I've done 100 episodes. This is a 4-year of going on 5 years of doing this show. I have booked a lot of guests. And a lot of them, it is a huge tumult to book them. Look, respect. People have to do what they're comfortable with. But they want to know all about you. They need to know your numbers. They need to know every question you're going to ask. You have to go through 3 different assistants. It's like going through hoops for people that, maybe are just starting out or something like that, which actually makes a lot of sense because they want to make sure they're comfortable as they're building their career. Like, no judgment. Not Marianne. I talked to a beautiful, lovely person named Lauren, and it was the smoothest, easiest, most beautiful experience to connect with her and to book a time. So just food for thought. Be kind and be easy. Anyway, so now the interview, you're going to hear it next. I was so fucking nervous, you guys, like so nervous. My heart was in my throat. I was so nervous. And I really thought about it. Why was I so nervous? Okay, here's why. This book, The Mystic Jesus, changed my life. It made a lot of my life, my feelings, my ideas make sense. So I really, really wanted to talk about the book. But I also wanted to ask her questions because I thought of you guys and also myself, right? I thought of you guys. Like, what do my listeners want to know? I know you so well. What do they want to know? We need certain answers, and she's the one to give us these answers. So I wasn't nervous of her. I know she's amazing. It was nervous of getting to the things that were most important. And then I realized you have to let go and let God. You have to release this to God. And that what you ask and what she answered and what happens in that podcast, in that recording, in this recording you're about to hear, is exactly what was meant to happen, exactly what was meant to be said, and will resonate with the highest number of people that listen to this podcast. So I'm happy with it. I also asked her some personal questions, which I haven't heard a lot about. So I asked her some cool questions I think you guys will really like. We had a really good time. Um, and afterwards I had written her just to thank her, and her her executive assistant, was like, she had a really great time with you. And I was like, oh God, oh good. I'm so happy. So I think it was a great interview. I hope that you guys enjoy it. I certainly enjoyed doing it. God bless Marianne Williamson. Miracles are real, as you read, through her entire library of books, which you guys may have already. If you haven't, go buy them all. Follow her on Instagram. Buy her book, The Mystic Jesus, The Mind of Love. Wow. Blown away. It's stunning. It's a beautiful book. Wait till you see how she writes. So thank you, Marianne Williamson. God bless you. I'm so happy you came on. You're an incredible powerhouse. Just to hear her as a woman, as a career person, is also powerful, and how she just went for what she saw. Now, the cool thing also, you guys, about the Mystic Jesus, the Mind of Love, she's Jewish. So this is about connecting with Jesus. That doesn't have to be in a religious way. You guys are going to love it. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of this show for so long. Please forward this podcast and any other podcast I've done that you like, so I can keep going. I can keep shaking and moving and doing this podcast. So without further ado, my conversation with Marianne Williamson. Enjoy. Hi, Marianne.
Hi, how are you?
I am so well. Thank you for coming on this show.
Well, thank you for having me.
It is such a pleasure. I'm so thrilled to have you. And, something I hear you say is really send love to a situation before you get there. And I've heard you talk about that. And so, in preparation for this, I've been sending you love for about 2 weeks, and this conversation love, and really anyone who hears this conversation. So,
Thank
I
you.
already know we're going to have a blast. So, thank you so much. And I really want to talk about your book. Um, your book is absolutely incredible. Your book
Thank you.
completely already changed my life and validated so much of what I have been feeling, and many people that I've talked to. This is what's happening with your book right now. You guys, I have massive amounts of notes and underlining. And so I can't wait to talk about that. I wanted to have a few questions first. Just to my listeners that I know so well and the people that I talk to, and was hoping you would talk to us, as you know, the shift that's happening on this planet, and you've talked about so much. I have seen that people are crumbling desperately under the shift and the intensity of the world. And I wanted to ask you, how do you suggest people ground in at this time, and what should they focus on so that they can get through this intensity?
Well, you opened your program talking about sending love to a situation even before you get there. I always say, blast the room with love before you walk in. It's important, I think, that we realize this is not just Hallmark card stuff. This has to do with a direction given to the subconscious mind. When I was a child, there was a television show. I don't remember what it was called. But basically, what it was you would see a screen, and the screen is just a bunch of squiggly lines. And the contestant would be handed a pole and told, within those squiggly lines, there's the Eiffel Tower, or there's a sandwich, or there's a dog, or something. And with this stick, find it. And that's really what life is like, particularly now. There are so many forms of stimulus coming at us, some of which are very stressful, and very few of which we as human beings are hardwired to be with. The assault of modernity, so much of it uncaring, so much of it mean, even so little of it nurturing, is, as you said, making many of us feel that our very nervous system can't handle it. Now, in the human eye, we've read about how the retina works and the cornea and stuff. You are receiving so much visual stimulus at any moment, but there is a decision making aspect to the way the eye works, picking out what to focus on and what to see. And subconsciously, we focus. But if we just are sort of left to the devices of our fear mind, we tend to focus on the most fearful stimulus. So when you blast a room with love, you're telling your subconscious mind, help me appear more lovable. Help me see the love and the goodness in other people so that that's the place at which we meet. And that is the essence of the grounding that you're asking about, particularly in the morning. If you wake up in the morning, in the Course in Miracles, it says even 5 minutes spent within, the Course is talking about the exercises and the lessons there, but it could be any serious spiritual path, mindfulness, reflection, prayer, whatever your path is, even 5 minutes to say, I'm going to ground myself in what's deeply true, which is that everybody's here to love and be loved. It's confusing for everyone. Everybody's hurting on some level. Everybody's trying their best on some level. And I can go with my own heart, with my own mind, which ultimately means your brain, your nervous system, into the place where that's what I'm focused on. That's what people read from me. That's what people get from me. That's what people feel safe to send back to me. And if you do that in the morning, it doesn't mean that we're going to be, enlightened masters all day, but the chances of falling off the spiritual wagon into reactiveness and defensiveness and anger and bitterness and all that are greatly decreased. And when we do fall off, it's a much greater probability we'll catch ourselves, atone, forgive, and get back on. And that's really the only way. These are turbulent times. And not only are they turbulent times politically, economically, emotionally, psychologically, we have not been living in a culture where we have been particularly trained in the skill set necessary to endure turbulent times. We've had it very easy in this culture. And now that it's hard, we kind of don't know how to do hard. Too many of us.
It's so interesting you say that. First of all, with the waking up with gratitude, like you're saying, it's like we can right our ship easier if we have that center that we have established in the morning. We can go like, "Oh, my
Absolutely.
ship is turning." And you have that center. And it's so interesting when you say we're not accustomed or know how to deal with what's happening in trauma. I think about my grandma who lived through World War II, the Depression, Vietnam,
Thank
all
you.
of this immense trauma, and we, like you said, weren't used to it.
We have to toughen up, but it can't be a fake tough. It has to be, it's counterintuitive. The more you open your heart and the more you allow yourself to be tenderly available to life, it's interesting. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you stronger. I think what we've had in this culture is an ethical breakdown, a profound ethical breakdown. We ask, what can I get from this situation? More often than we ask, what is the right thing to do? We ask, what can I get from this situation? More than we ask, what can I give? And I want to tell you something, Erica, that applies to those of us in the spiritual community as much as to anyone else. We have gotten, too many of us, and this is a broad generalization, but there's something going on here where people think as long as I say, I really support you, then it doesn't matter if I actually do. I really just know I really love and support you. I've heard that phrase from people whose behavior, really? Because you call that support? And I think it's almost like we just throw fairy dust around. I think we have to get much more serious about showing up for people, showing up for situations, asking questions like, what is the honorable thing to do here? What is the good thing to do here? What is the thing filled with integrity? What is the courageous thing to do here? What is the thing which means I'm a mature woman or I'm a mature man responding to the challenges of this moment, making life better for the children, for the men, for the women, for the whomever, and however they identify, obviously, for the situations, for the community, for my country. These are very serious times, and we're not going to make it through without becoming more serious people.
Um, the number one question I get asked is, "What's my purpose? What's my purpose? Why am I here? What the hell am I doing in this shitty place?" That's how people feel. They feel they've come to Earth for a purpose and they can't find it and they're so lost. And I know, I mean, in so many books I've read of yours and times I've heard you speak, was such an intense time in your 20s and you had an awakening and understanding and found such a profound purpose in how many lives you've touched and what you've created. What would you say to people that are truly lost and feel they're listless with no purpose?
Well, first of all, the 20s are hard. The 20s are hard. They're not a mental illness. That's the first thing. The fact that your 20s are hard doesn't mean that you're mentally ill. Please don't let them tell you that. The 20s are hard. Okay? That's number one. Number two, my 20s were, when you say you've read that my 20s were difficult, whose aren't? Now, what I talk about in the book, like in Return to Love, when I talk about that, then I found the Course in Miracles. Now, let's look at kind of a broader scale of history here, because knowing history really helps. So there was a time when, for most people in civilizations such as ours, if you were going through a difficult time, if you were looking for comfort, if you were looking for solace, you looked to religion. Okay. And so, as a Christian, you were taught that we were here to love one another. Jews taught that you're here to love mercy, do justice, walk humbly with thy God. That was a role that religion played in the lives of our great grandparents and so forth. Then, largely due to the malfeasance and inadequacies in some cases of religious institutions, the psychotherapeutic model, sort of the torch got passed from churches, synagogues, mosques, and so forth to psychotherapy. Then, a few years ago, very quickly, the torch got passed from psychotherapy to psychopharmacology.
Mm.
Okay. Now, the truth is that no external source can ground you in your purpose. You have one purpose, and your purpose isn't different than anyone else's purpose: to love and to be loved. Your purpose in this situation is the same as my purpose: that we both be present as best we can, that we both, as best we can, be gracious to one another, that we both realize if you show up as your best and I show up as my best to the best of our ability, that this might be useful to someone else. That's it. That's it. And that will be true an hour from now in whatever situation we're in. And it will be true an hour from then. There are no separate purposes. Not only, we tend to think when, it's almost like God's going to send you something in, FedEx or something with your purpose. Like, my purpose is to be an artist. My purpose is to be a healer. My purpose is to be a business person. We're all here with the same purpose, and that is to be a healer no matter what we are. That you are here, if you're in business, to use business as an agent of healing the world. If you're an artist, that you use art as an agent of healing the world. If you're a scientist, that you use science as an agent of healing the world. That anything you do is not, what am I going to get from being an artist? What am I going to get from being a scientist? What am I going to get from being whatever I am? It's rather, how can that be a conduit of my giving to the world? We only, on a spiritual level, we only get what we give. So if I have my eyeglasses in my hand and I give them to you, I no longer have them. But on the realm of the spiritual, what I give to you is what I get to keep. and what I keep is what I will lose. So, this idea of what is my purpose? Your purpose is to love and to be loved. And everything else, that's why in the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Heaven is an awareness of our oneness. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added unto you. The universe will compensate. The universe, it's an equilibrium. The universe knows what you need in order to exist at your highest manifestation. You just take care of your purpose, which is giving the universe what it needs. And that is more love, particularly at a time like this.
And then it will take care of itself.
Mhm.
It will show up.
Yeah, it will show up, and then your job will be to uh, behave responsibly and all the lessons of life, to be responsible, to manage the world in a correct way, in an appropriate way. I mean, everything's going to be a lesson. Uh, I know in my own life, you know, weak spots have been when the universe did show up, and I didn't inhabit the space of what I had been given in as mature way as I wish that I had. Looking back, whether it was relationships, whether it was jobs, whether it was money, whether it was, so these are the lessons of life.
It's so interesting also because something I had written down, I've never taken so many notes before an interview, but I had written down that um, during this shift and people waking up and seeking, they are seeking so rapidly outside of themselves. They're just like, give me something. I tell me the answer. I want to know. I'm going to read this. I'm going to do that. All of that is great to seek. Um, but once again, we're continuously separating ourselves from ourselves, which is wherein lies the connection to God.
Well, I mean, we can't really speak to what other people's process is. Some people read a book and they have so many aha moments that nothing is the same. So I don't want to put down seeking. I mean, seeking is what it's about. We're all looking for whatever podcast, whatever book, whatever teaching, and we need that. So we want to honor that. The issue the is finding that place where the rubber meets the road, and that's any hour of the day. Are you doing your best to practice the principles that you, let's say, just read about? Um, the truth is simple. That doesn't mean it's easy to apply. But I think at this point, Erica, probably, and tell me if I'm wrong, probably the kind of people who listen to your podcast already kind of know what the principles are. All right, we've all read the same books now. We've all listened to the same tapes. This is not an era of more data collection. It's more an era of application. Like you were talking before about this historical shift. Okay, the historical shift is a profound historic phase transition. So there's a line in the course that it says, "It's not up to you what you learn. It's merely up to you whether you learn through joy or through pain." So the entire world is being shown what you're doing is not working. You're not taking care of the earth. You're not taking care of each other. You're not taking care of yourselves. You are more about war than about peace. You're not taking care of the children. And nature will only support that for so long. It's unnatural. Therefore, it's unsustainable. But if you look at the way the world is, it's a reflection of the people we now are. So the world is only going to change when we change. And each of us, what the Course in Miracles says, is that each of us has a highly individualized curriculum. The people in sometimes it's hard, Erica, but it's the people who are already in your life. It's not the people you might meet later. It's how are you inhabiting every single situation in your life? Sometimes situations are what we would want them to be, and sometimes they're not what we would want them to be. But life is about, I might have wanted this to happen. I might not have wanted this to happen. But what is the space I'm inhabiting within this circumstance? What is the insight into myself? Because what's happening in every situation, you're invited to play it at least as well as you played last time this kind of thing happened. Are you playing it as well? Or are you trying at least to play it better? And if this situation brings up Your ego defaults where you were weak last time. You went into reactiveness. You went into selfishness. You went into control. This is your opportunity. Practice being better this time. And that's what's going on. And so even when you said a few minutes ago, people are saying, tell me, give me something, give me something. You know what the universe is saying? No, you give me something.
Amen right there.
The lesson is not what we need to get. The lesson is what we need to give.
Oh, amen. And it's interesting too when you're talking about showing up and showing up again and again in situations that are challenging. And I just wanted to tell you, I was listening to something, an interview you did, and you were talking about, have you prayed for your husband this morning? And that totally changed. I know this sounds wild that that would change my life. It did. And now
Mhm.
I wake up, I'm like, I really want this dude to do well and be happy. I really like him. Give, pray for him.
And then tell him that, we have this thing about children's self esteem, and we have to build up a child's self esteem. Who among us doesn't need? So if it's your husband, I used to say in my lectures, whoever you slept with last night, I'm not asking for a show of hands, but did you tell them today how wonderful they are, how incredible they are? Did you pray for them? Did you say, I know you're going to be incredible at work today? We're all like, tell your kid you're going to be great at school today. Well, tell your husband or your wife or your lover and your friend, you're going to be great today. Adults need it as much as children do. At what age do we stop needing our friends to encourage and support us?
I love that. And thank you so much for that. And, I was so excited to meet you and talk to you today. And my daughter, she's 10, was like, how are you feeling? I said, I feel nervous, but I know it's joy and excitement. She goes, Mom, before I go out and do a play and I'm behind the curtain, I feel that too. But then I go out and I shine. And right before I was leaving, she gave me a hug and she goes, Mommy, you're just behind the curtain. You've
She,
got
mommy,
this.
oh my
Yeah.
God, she's 10 years old.
You're just behind the curtain. Yeah.
Will you
Oh,
tell her that I said, you're doing great.
I will. I promise. She will love that. And she's going to listen to this. Like, oh, you mentioned me.
What is her name?
Naomi.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I have a daughter named Naomi and a son named Asa.
Named
Yeah.
what?
Asa.
Ah, beautiful. Both
Yeah.
names.
Thank you. Both Old Testament names. And I really want to talk about your book. Something I'm seeing a lot. I have people that call me hiding in their house in a closet, and I'm honoring all religions, but just telling you what happens like in a Mormon community per se. And they're wanting to talk to me and have a different perspective because they are feeling their own connection to God and Jesus, but not through their religion. And they're terrified. And what's so amazing about you is you are a Jewish woman that found your incredible connection to Jesus and what it really means. And your book is life changing because I've had similar experiences. My dad is Jewish, and experiences of telling people, well, I love Jesus, but I'm not a Christian. And I talk to dead people, and they're like, we don't understand what's happening. Like, you're not one for the Bible then. I'm like, no, I read the Bible. It was awesome. And they're like, but you love Jesus? I go, yeah, I met Jesus. He's amazing. He's yin and yang, very powerful. So your book literally changed my life and got me back in touch with that true feeling within myself and love for Jesus. And thank you.
Thank you. Well, my story, when I was in my 20s, I saw the Course in Miracles on somebody's coffee table at a party. And I had read a lot of comparative religion in college. So I had read St. Augustine, St. Thomas of Aquinas. I mean, I had read Christian theology, but it was within an academic context of comparative religion, which was very satisfying and meaningful to me. When I saw the Course in Miracles, though, it was at a party. It was my personal life. And I picked up the book and I thought it looked fascinating, but there was Christian terminology all over it. And I thought, well, this is a Christian book. This is not something that I'm reading. But it was so fascinating. So many of the lines I read were so interesting. A year later, I picked it up again. I wasn't in a headspace to make it about the language one way or the other. I was just looking for information, peace, help. And you find very quickly this is not a religion. This is not the Christian religion. It is a psychological mind training in the relinquishment of a thought system based on fear and the acceptance instead of a thought system based on love. And it does use these traditional Christian concepts, but in some decidedly non traditional, psychotherapeutically oriented way. So when you see that, you get, okay, I can relax. This is not committing to a religion. The Course says frequently it is not a religion. So there are people who are identify as Christians. There are people who identify as agnostics. There are people who identify as Jewish or Muslim or Hindi or atheists even, who, I mean, that feel there's information here about being a more loving person. It's not, the Course in Miracles says ultimately belief is nothing, experience is everything. It doesn't really matter, if I am trying to be more loving to you, then whether or not I believe in God is not the issue. The Course in Miracles would say that in that moment I am conspiring with God, whether or not I yet believe in him. So, for myself, I have never felt, and at first I was like, wait, waiting for like something that would say, and now you have to become a Christian. No, I think that we are living at a time of spiritual revival, and whether it's Buddha or Moses, or any of these of the great religious figures, there is some spiritual gold. All of the great religious traditions, including Judaism with the Kabbalah, including Islam with Sufism, including Christianity with the Gnostics, such as the Gnostic Gospels. That's where the Course in Miracles fits in, the mystical nugget of truth, one truth, that's at the heart of all great religious systems. And that's why the Course in Miracles says this course is based on universal spiritual themes. So the idea is that there's one truth with a capital T. It's spoken in many different ways. Now, as far as Jesus is concerned, I think a lot of the resistance that a lot of people have, both who have been brought up as Christian as well as those who have not, is the idea that he's the only way. Is people like, that doesn't work for me. Well, none of that doctrine or dogma is here in the Course in Miracles, and thus in the Jesus that I discuss in this book. He's a non-exclusive, universal spiritual force. He's not a religious figure. He is a name on the door to the sacred space that is the truth of who we are. And the Course in Miracles says he's not the only name on the door. Now, I do think it's true that if he's a name that calls to you, you're going to end up knowing it. But, and the Course in Miracles says if he is a name that calls to you, you don't need any others, but others might be part of your journey. But if he's not a name that calls for you, Judaism is a perfect example, the covenant of Israel. It's not incomplete. Hello, it's complete. And that everybody has their own way home, but there's one home. And whoever and whatever the guidance, that eternal communication link between God and you is, it has different names, and Jesus is one of them.
I love in the book when you were explaining to your mom what you were doing, and she was like, "So help me understand. You're going to stay in California and give talks about Jesus to Gentiles?" And you said, I slowly nodded. After a few seconds, she simply shook her head, raised an eyebrow, and asked me what I was going to wear. And I'm like, I love that quote so much because it brings so much support to people that have found something, that have, their direction, their purpose. And it's so, so beautiful. You knew where you were going. And it also, I think for women is so empowering. Like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's right. I want to share this. Just like you were saying earlier, I want to share this. What can I give?
Whether it's you doing a podcast, somebody else opening a dress shop, somebody else becoming an artist, I think it's important that we realize the form of your service is not what matters. The content of your service is what matters. One of the lessons in the Course in Miracles is I am among the ministers of God. The idea is to see whatever you're doing, can it be my ministry? So somebody could be listening to this and they work at the moment as a waitress, as a server in a restaurant, and say, oh, she's so lucky she's doing a podcast, or she's so lucky she was led to do, lectures on the Course in Miracles. No, you're in touch with human beings today. You have an opportunity to be a loving presence and to help uplift the energy. Everything we do. What makes me a quote unquote teacher of God in Course in Miracles terms is not that I give lectures or write books. What makes me a quote unquote teacher of God is that I'm trying to be a more loving person, um, on the path just like everyone else, dealing with the demons and angels in my mind just like everyone else, and uh, seeking to do that which my heart leads me to do. The Course in Miracles says all of the children of God are special, and none of the children of God are special. So nobody's life is more important or less important than yours is, no matter what it is, no matter who you're with, no matter what you are living. You and your life as it is right now is immeasurably precious in the eyes of God.
Mm.
Like you said, my own husband. Was I praying for my own husband? Don't overlook your own children, your own husband, your own lovers, your own friends, your own work. A friend of mine told me many years ago, I wrote about this in one of my books. She was in a job many years ago and she quit the job. And it wasn't an unfriendly situation. It was just time for her to move on. But she told the man that her boss, that she would give him, I don't know, 2 weeks or whatever. But she just kind of wasn't present, in whatever way. And one day she went to her desk and she saw a note from him. Please stay until you go. Be present wherever you are. Be present wherever you are. The ego mind is so about the past or about the future that we forget it's all about the present. Nothing is more important. Like I could say to you right now, Erica, I know your life's purpose. Really, Marianne, what is it? It's to be on this podcast with me right now. And that's my life's purpose too. There's something so powerful about trying to inhabit the moment we're in more perfectly.
That's an amazing story. Please stay until you go.
Uh-huh.
And that comes up a lot. I think people like, "This job sucks," or "This house is the worst," or,
Make it
"Oh,
more beautiful.
this phase is so terrible in my life." It's like, but if you are in that phase for real, you will move on. It's magic. It's not magic, but it's magic. It's a miracle.
And until you learn the lesson, you will not be able to move on. And even if you do move on, if you haven't learned the lesson, you're going to recreate the same situation in the next place. The
Yeah.
Course in Miracles, there are these principles that most of which I talk about in the book. These principles become problem solving modalities. And one of those principles is only what you are not giving can be lacking in any situation. This house sucks. What are you not giving? Have you even put the pictures up on the wall? Only what you are not giving. Oh, this job sucks. What are you not giving? I mean, the ego is all about self-reference. And there's so much today, Erica, where the culture, even the higher consciousness community, I'm afraid to say, actually fosters that. I mean, self-care is important. There is an appropriate use of that concept, but the ego uses it just to justify selfishness that will not help you in your life because it will not attract love.
Do you think people have become afraid of hard work? And there's an idea of like, I just want to fast track this. Everything's so fast. And that can happen with spirituality as well, where it's like, I just want to skip over to the good part. And where it's a process. I've heard messages that you've said 20 years ago that I'm literally still processing today.
Me too, though, Erica. Me too.
Thank you. That makes me feel so much better.
Me too.
I'm literally going
Me
to read
too.
your book 6 times. Like we process. And I feel like sometimes there's this idea of like, I don't want to work hard. You shouldn't work hard. And I don't think things should feel tense, but you do have to diligently do what you're doing, right?
It's not, some people say, oh, a real spiritual path is just an easy way to help people cope. That's just not what it is. You know, what I've been through in the last few months, um, it is hard work to integrate all of your life experience sometimes, to forgive yourself, to forgive others, to learn the lessons, to move forward without carrying the past with you. It is work. It's the internal work. And if we don't do the internal work, there won't be the breakthroughs that we want to have happen in the outer world. Yeah, this business about we all want it to be everything's a hack, a life hack. What's the hack? What's the hack? And then you're like, well, what about the process? You a baby and the embryo turns into a baby. You can't rush it. You can't rush. You plant the seed. You can't rush it. Um, there's something about being with the process of life as each moment calls for whatever it calls for.
The chapters of forgiveness and grievances are the ones that I think I'm going to read often in the mornings. That for me, and I believe many others, because I talk to a lot of my listeners and 16 years of reading, forgiveness, that is our block, right? Our block. It just poisons us, our anger. And grievances, I read and I just wrote in my notes, huge, huge. That is a huge chapter. And I think one of the things that are truly blocking us from moving forward on many levels globally.
Well, the Course in Miracles says forgiveness is the key to happiness. The idea here is that the world is dominated by a thought system based on fear. And fear, it says, is to love what darkness is to light. It's simply the absence of something else. And in that thought system, we are trained into thoughts of attack, thoughts of judgment, thoughts of defense. We instinctively go there. So that by a very early age in this world, that kind of unnatural attack thinking feels more natural. And the idea of really being open and authentic and loving and vulnerable in a moment almost feels less natural. And so enlightenment is a process. Once again, it is a process of dismantling that thought system based on fear and accepting instead a thought system of love, which is what a real spiritual journey does. Forgiveness is everything because forgiveness means seeing beyond the illusion of separation, seeing beyond the illusion that you're guilty, seeing beyond the illusion that anything other than love is real. We can learn to extend our perception beyond what the physical senses believe to what the heart knows to be true. I'll give you an example. Somebody just said something mean to you. Somebody said something condescending. Somebody did something to you that wasn't nice. Well, in this world, it happened. But if you live in reaction to what they did, it's like they fell asleep to how beautiful you are. But if you only base your sense of what just happened on what was said or done, then you are locking yourself into that, what Buddha called wheel of suffering. You can, if you're willing to, and this is where Jesus actually comes in. Jesus is a way, not the only way, a way to say, this trigger, this wound, this pain over what just happened is too great for me to simply be okay with it. But I am willing to see this differently. And then we can be guided to the perception of that person's innocence rather than their guilt. And this is very practical. Can I give you an example?
Please.
I got a text the other day um, that in my ego state would make me say, you hurt me, or would make me think, you hurt me. Uh, this is outrageous that you're now saying all this loving stuff to me. You know that you weren't there. And that's where my ego state would be. Okay. Now, if I texted back from that space, that would be received as an attack, because basically it is an attack. It's pointing to that person's guilt. Okay. Now, I think it's been a long time since I would have done that. But the next thing, like a little higher state of ego, but still not there, is I just wouldn't write back. You know what? This is done, this friendship. Well, that's not it either. This is someone I've known for many years and I love, and we're like sisters and so forth. Now, I have not yet gotten to the point where I'm ready to write back, but I think I might be in the next 24, 48 hours. But I know what the goal is. I want to be at a point where it's a share and not an attack, where it would be received as a share and not as an attack. It would be a loving communication, but not denying my truth. Being authentic, being real, and yet being loving. Don't write that text until you're in that place, and ask God's help. So being loving doesn't mean denying your truth, but getting to the point where your truth is a share. And that's what nonviolent communication is. It's like, you don't say you hurt me. You say, when that happened, it was painful for me. And it's a process to get to the love without sacrificing the truth.
Share, not an attack. I just wrote that down.
Makes all the difference in the world, because when we feel attacked, we shut down.
And we're mean back, right? We want to fight back.
Oh, it's just a wheel. Everybody, yeah, back and forth, and that's really the definition. That's the metaphysical definition of hell. It's what the ego makes of our current lives. Like, I judge you, and then you judge me, and then I attack you. Now, this is what the Course in Miracles says. The Course says miracles, which means correction, return to harmony, all of that, occur naturally as expressions of love. You can have a grievance or a miracle. You cannot have both. So as long as I share with this woman what my grievance is, I won't be able to have it. There won't be a miracle. And then I'll be in pain.
It's so interesting because something you wrote was, I don't have the exact quote. Oh, yes, I do. I apologize. You wrote, his message wasn't, hey, look at me. His message is, hey, look at you. And that goes so well with the example. Hey, look at you. And that is like, that's it right there. Everything that this whole story, this whole book, how you've compared everything to truth and God instead of a Christian or a this Jesus or a that Jesus. Hey, look at me. His message is, hey, look at you, this reflection and what he creates and the magic that comes into your life when you know Jesus.
Or know God in whatever way you know God.
Totally. And do you think that is one of the biggest misconceptions about Jesus? What are the biggest misconceptions that you feel?
One of the lines in the Course in Miracles that's so powerful about this, it says, some bitter idols have been made of him who came only to be brother to the world. I mean, there were women burned at the stake. There were people burned at, you go all the way back to the Inquisition. But even now, when you look at things such as Christian nationalism in this country, but this is not just Christianity. There's a fun, and we see this on the planet today, big time. It's almost unbelievable. What have we gone back centuries? The fundamentalist form of any religion is a tool of the ego and not of God. Any thought, whether it's my religion, my race, my sex, my sexuality, my ethnicity, my color, anything that because of this I'm better and you're worse, is not of God. So any religion that sees its truth as the exclusive truth, and look at all the evil that has been perpetrated on the planet because of this. And that's why so many people are like, I don't want to do with that. I don't want to do it. But a lot of people, and this is where books like mine and people such as myself come in, people say, wait a minute, I didn't mean to throw away the baby with the bathwater. I didn't mean to not have a connection with God. I just didn't want it to have to be through doctrine and dogma. I wanted it to be through my own practical living experience. And that's where books like The Course in Miracles make such a difference in people's lives.
And all of your books.
Well, thank you. It's very
I
kind of you
mean,
to say, Erica.
yeah, that it's your books.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question because we were talking about women and how they've been treated throughout time, and I loved the chapter on Mary and or the piece of the book on Mary. In in your mind, why did Mary have to be a virgin?
Oh, well, the word actually at that time meant maiden. So whether or not she was a physical virgin, I'm going to leave to others to decide for themselves. But I know what the virginal heart means in terms of our openness to God. So Mary represents in that sense, in an esoteric sense, the human heart. You know, sometimes people say, why do we call God he? Okay. Well, we call Mother Earth Mother Earth. I've never heard anybody say, why don't we say Father Mother Earth? Because there's this archetypal yin and yang. The yang is the masculine spirit force, the yin is the feminine earth force. So the idea of Mary being impregnated with God is the idea that every person and no other human being can do this for you. Only the spirit can do to impregnate your heart, to enter into your heart. And that is what makes it, the whole idea of immaculate conception, that it is something that happens, your heart, spirit enters in. And then the idea is that what emerges from that is the new self. So when you said people are looking, just give me something, give me something, give me something, the giving is the birth of a new self. And that new self is mothered by our humanness. We're living on the earth. We got it going on as earth beings, physical beings, but fathered by God. In fact, what the Course in Miracles says about Jesus, he is someone who lived on the earth, but thought only the thoughts of heaven, which means an awareness of our oneness. So whether it's a Christian wearing a Christian cross over our hearts, or it's a Jew wearing the Star of David, notice how both in the cross and in the Star of David, it's a visual picture of the intersection of the vertical relationship to the divine and the horizontal relationship to the earth. That's who we want to be. We want to be people. And that's why it says in the Bible, in him, heaven and earth become as one. That will be the ultimate state of humanity. The total actualization of our divine potential is when we live on the earth, but every thought is a thought of heaven, i.e., our love for one another. So obviously, we've got work to do to get there. But the fact that there have been, and perhaps are, I know, people who are there or who have been there, they then become, the Course in Miracles says, our guides, authorized to help us. And that's why in the Course in Miracles, Jesus is called an elder brother. You know, I begin the book, The Mystic Jesus, that you're talking about here, I begin it with a quote from the Course where he says, I'm in a state that is only potential in you. I don't have anything you don't have. The difference is I don't have anything else. I'm in a state that is potential in you. So what you and I have is every situation both invites us to love and tempts us to fear, anger, resentment, grievance. He's completely devoid of that temptation. He's achieved that state where it's a lock. It's a lock. I only see the love in people. Everything that people say or do to me, I see it as either love or a call for love, because I know that only love is real. And then he says, I can't change your thinking for you because that would be a violation of your free will. But if you invite me to overshadow your consciousness, I can help you make a leap where otherwise the trigger is too hard. You can't quite do it yourself. You know, you and I could have lunch, Erica, and I could say to
Let's.
you,
Let's.
oh, let's do it. Okay, we're not that far from each other. You're
I'm coming
invited
to
to visit me
DC. Yeah.
anytime. Great, but please bring me Naomi with you because she
Yes, I
sounds so
will.
fantastic. I got to meet Naomi. So I could be telling you I'm really upset about something, and you could say, "Oh, come on, Marianne, you're bigger than this. Let that go. Come on." And sometimes that's what friends say to us, and we go, "You're right, thank you." But other times you might say that, and I might respond, "It's too big a betrayal. It's too big a hurt. It's too big a trigger. It's too big a wound. And then you might say, then let's pray together. Because we're praying that there be a divine intercession overshadowing your consciousness and helping you see what you have not seen. Okay. I'm Yeah, interesting. I'm going through a little bit of that in this moment because I'm saying some things to you in answer to your questions today that are answers to my question about a situation in my life. That's the way it works. It's all perfect. Every situation is perfect.
God is
Hmm.
great. God is great. And here, and it's so interesting you brought up prayers because the prayers that you have in your book, just there is so much that rang out in my heart like a sound bowl. And I would just say to everyone listening, buy this book, read it 10 times, and also highlight the prayers in this book because they are life changing. They are aligning. So thank you for the prayers so much. They are so special, Marianne.
Thank you, Erica. You're a very generous woman, and thank you for your kindness. And I'm glad the book means so much to you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it for everyone I know. So I'm like, finally, you can understand why I love Jesus. I wanted to ask you two more things if you have the time.
Hmm.
Um, The first one was if you could say two things to every single person on the planet, which you've almost reached as you've ran for president of the United States as well.
Hmm.
What two things would you tell them?
Try to be a little kinder. Try to be more forgiving. Try to we're all mean right now. There's a meanness in the air. Twitter is so mean. Social media is so mean. Politics is so mean. You know, Victor Hugo said, remember, no matter who you meet, you're in the presence of a great war. Remember that other people are hurting too. Everybody's trying their best. Let's just give each other the benefit of the doubt a little more. Show up a little more kindly. I've seen in my own life where I don't know, maybe it's got moon and Capricorn. I don't know. Sometimes I would just be sitting there and somebody goes, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Nothing's wrong. I'm just sitting here. But something about my affect seems stern or something. And I realized, no, you were in neutral. Be a little more proactively loving. Be a little more proactively loving. Be less selectively loving. Let's just try to forgive each other a little bit more. You give it up. We're carrying around such grievances against our parents, against politicians. Um, if we really sat and had a deep conversation with anyone and really saw them, we'd come to love them. And that's not to say that there are not evil people that have been in this world or are in this world. Um, but even when they belong in prison, you read amazing stories. Uh, when you unwrap it all, there's that space of God within us all. That doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. That doesn't mean that some people don't, deserve whatever prison sentence or whatever. But there's something deep down in all of us. There's a spirit of God in all of us.
God spark. That's what I call it, the God spark that resides in each of us, that we're co creating with that God spark.
And from a Course in Miracles perspective, not only is it that that spark is in you or that spark is in me or that spark is in someone else, it's the same spark. And that's the meaning of the line, there's only one begotten Son. So whereas the traditional Christians, some say there's only one begotten Son and Jesus is it, he's the only begotten Son, from the mystical perspective, no, there's only one begotten Son means God created only one of us. We are that one divine spark, and we're all just different reflections. And when, namaste, it's really the divine spark in me salutes the divine spark in you, so that we might more realize we're one, past the level of the body, past the level of our mistakes. And we all make them, is that place where we're just loving people, trying our best and wanting so much to be loved in exchange.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My last question, and it's a little
Yeah.
different, but I wanted to know what kind of music you like to listen to, especially when you prepare to do something like this or give a talk or an interview.
Well, there's nothing like Aretha singing "Respect."
Oh my gosh.
There's
Yeah.
there's nothing like Gloria Gaynor singing "I Will Survive."
Hello. Hello.
There's nothing like "Miracles" from Jefferson Starship.
Ugh.
So I read somewhere that no matter what age you are, that the music of your youth is the music you most relate to. So there's nothing like Bob Dylan for me. Um, I think I thought that was a really interesting when I read that. I thought that's really true for me.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I love, Adele, and I love all that stuff that's out there now and all that. But um, the stuff that really sort of pumps me up is Little Aretha will do it every time.
How about a little mamas and papas thrown in there? That's like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
favorite.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. All
I
the leaves are falling.
brown
Yeah.
the
Uh-huh.
leaves of brown. I
And
I love it.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mama
so good.
Cass, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very much like my college years and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
They were great.
I love in the beginning of the book when you talk about walking through a park during that time, and you're like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
we ran into what they called at the time, Jesus freaks.
please.
Jesus
Uh-huh.
freaks." And you were
He's a Jesus freak.
He's a Jesus freak. And it was so funny because you basically are like, well, was I saved by Jesus? Well, if you mean he is, and you basically explained exactly what you meant. You said, because if you think of Jesus as, in fact, a personification of love, a force of consciousness, that's the ultimate reality within me and all human beings, then I guess, yes, I have been saved by Jesus. What did he looked at you like, "This chick is wild. Who's this?"
He was just flummoxed, and my boyfriend said, "Mary, let's just keep walking," because he said, "Have you been saved by Jesus?" I said, "Well, maybe not the way you think of it, but once you realize the only thing to be saved from is the painful thinking that dominates this world. What are you here to be saved from? The way you're thinking about things. That's the only thing to be saved from is the painful way you continue to interpret your experience. That's just huge to me.
That's everything. Well, for me, as I've connected with you and so much of what you've done, and you talk about miracles, and definitely getting your book from you in the mail was a miracle for me. And you have completely touched my life, and you're completely blessing every single person that gets to hear these words. There's so many new spiritual seekers that listen to this podcast because they feel I talk to them straight. And so you are blessing them, and you bless this show. And I cannot thank you enough for trusting me to interview you and really help in some small way deliver your incredible messages. Thank you so much.
You're a lovely woman, and it was an honor to be on your show. And if you're ever in DC, you bring little Naomi with you, and I'd love to have lunch.
Oh, I'm going to. Yes, I'm going to hold you
Okay.
to that. And I will
Okay.
tell everyone listening, go run and buy The
Thank
Mystic
you.
Jesus, The Mind of Love by Marianne Williamson. Connect with her. She has courses. You can go on and listen to past talks, follow her on Instagram, connect with her. And if you're looking and you're seeking and you're searching, you have found it. So God bless everyone listening so much. And please know, whatever you take from today, please take with you, you are not alone. I love you. God bless you. I can't wait to talk to you all again. Take good care.